And we're live! Quarter Life Critics. Today is September the 18th, 2024, and I'm joined with my best friends, Grant.
Yo.
And Patrick.
Buongiorno.
And we are the Quarter Life Critics, the only show where we review the very best TV and film the world has to offer. And as you know, on every blessed episode, we have a journeyman, a renaissance man, if you will, that guides us through sort of a analytical deep dive. It's as if a scuba diver has the largest oxygen tank known to man and goes deep into the ocean, the deepest depths they can travel. That's what we do to TV and film here at Quarter Life Critics. But only one man has this responsibility. In this episode, that man is none other than Grant. Take it away, Grant.
Thank you.
We're so proud of you.
Yeah, so this week we are doing a favorite of mine. I don't know if you guys had seen the podcast a few weeks ago, but we did a French film called L'Argent. We are doing another French film today called Breathless, or à bout de souffle, which means out of breath. A film made in 1960, directed by Jean-Luc Godard, and came out during the
I'm breathless.
Quiet down there.
The movement in cinema called the French New Wave. And with that, I'll pass it over to our out of breath Patrick for a synopsis of the film.
Thank you. I was just really ready to go. So, this movie, Breathless, features petty thug Michel, who considers himself a suave bad guy in the manner of Humphrey Bogart. But he panics and impulsively kills a policeman while driving a stolen vehicle. Pretty nice car. They're all pretty nice cars in the movie. On the run, he turns to his aspiring journalist girlfriend, Patricia. And I'm wondering, does he aspire that she's his girlfriend, or is she an aspiring journalist? But either way, hiding out in her Paris apartment while he tries to pull together enough money to get the pair to Italy. But when Patricia learns that Michel has been involved in a murder and being investigated by the police, she begins to question her loyalties.
Directed by Jean-Luc Godard, actors Jean-Paul Belmondo and Jean Seberg. It did not, I don't know if there were any Oscars actually during this time. Does anyone know that off the top of their head?
Foreign film was not a category yet.
If there were Oscars, or if there was
There were Oscars in 1920s, wasn't it?
1929.
Yeah, I want to say it was
Foreign
29.
film was...
Yeah, we learned that in our trivia from Safety Last, if you remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
But foreign film was not a thing until recently.
Foreign film wasn't a thing, but so in terms of a legacy section on here, I don't know awards, but it's often cited as one of the best films of all time. Critics poll in 1992 put it at 22. In 2002, it went up to 15, then 13, 11, 38, and it is on the director's top films of all
down
time.
To 38. Sorry,
and then back up,
and then
down to 38, and then back up to 15 is where it's, well, these are different lists, but in 2022 on the director's top films of all time is number 15. Its IMDb is 7.7 out of 10 with only 89,000 votes. The budget was around 80,000 USD, and there were 2.3 million admissions. I did some math because that was the only stat I got was that admissions. So with the average ticket price in France in 1957 being like 37 cents, that would put the total box office at around 850K or like 10 times.
US dollars or francs?
US dollars.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it did pretty well in the theaters.
it's weird that they call it admissions. They don't just, I don't know, just like a. I guess you don't hear that stat too often.
Yeah,
You
they
just hear like a box office number. You go, oh, it's made that much. And you go, okay, it made that much in China, or this made this much in overseas or America, but you don't hear admissions.
they kept track of the number of tickets, but not the price with each ticket.
Damn Europeans.
So to introduce this film, just a bit. This is I would say the most defining film for the French New Wave, which is called the Nouvelle Vague. Fun fact: this is a double entendre. Vague means wave, and it also means vague in French. So it's a kind of vague double entendre. It's the new wave, but it's also the new vague. There are a lot of stylist choices that Godard makes in this film. So while you're watching it, I hope you noticed some of these options, and I'm curious, what are your favorites? So I'll start with you, Quinn. This can be editing,
Sure.
it could be the narrative and the dialogue, and just a little bit more of a preamble of the Nouvelle Vague. It was really a reaction to how things were done in Hollywood. You can think of Hitchcock as a good example of the movies that were being churned out of Hollywood. Then I think Hitchcock was the top of, he's very highly acclaimed, but your traditional story and your traditional kind of rules of how to make a movie were happening in Hollywood, and the French New Wave, or the Nouvelle Vague, was a movement to counteract that and to rebel against the norms and the rules that Hollywood was put forth, break them, and see what art or cinema that produces by rebelling against the traditional rules. So with that, I'll pass it to you, Quinn, on maybe some of your favorite stylist choices that Godard made.
Sure. So there were a lot of choices made in the film, and a lot of changes, as you said. But I don't think change is always better. It's definitely a interesting stylistic choice. So some things that I weren't, and you're gonna have to sell me on this, Grant. I don't know why my camera looks all zoomed in too. I'm on like 2x, but we'll roll with it. So I wasn't really a fan of a lot of the jump cuts, that stylistic choice in a sort of scattered compilation of pieces of film. So I was doing a little bit of reading, and you have 2.5 hours. You have too much film. You need to cut it down, and instead of taking some of the more commonly chosen like scenes, like, oh, you'd always include this scene if it was a scene like this, and you'd cut out like this extra stuff, and they sort of like switch that at times, which is an interesting choice, but I don't know if it works well for myself. There were definitely like scenes in the film where, I mean, it was very, very blatantly just taken out. Like they just took things out instead of I don't mind an interesting, like if it's all in an interior scene and maybe they're moving around and it's jumping and cutting. I think that it can work well, but there were scenes like I think near the end of the film when they're in the taxi and then it kind of just like cuts to Michel like getting out of the car, and he kind of just like upskirts a woman, and then it goes back to him like in the car, but then they're shortly like getting out of the car because they've reached their destination, and like that was like a wild cut. I was like, what was the point of that? I'm sure like reading later it seems like they had just more in the film and they just cut stuff out, and that's how they chose to cut it. But that was very jarring. I'm kind of hit or miss on the dialogue. I feel like a lot of the lines, are pretty thought provoking and interesting to think about, but then they're kind of paired with just boring, mundane, kind of just dumb dialogue where it's just kind of going
Well,
back and
so
forth. As
let's we can. I'm. Let's talk about what didn't work in a second. But what
Sure.
were your favorite stylistic elements?
I think I think I'm a fan of
It could be
one of my
even the plot, right? Like, was a stylistic. Okay.
What stylistic choice? I don't know if it's a stylistic choice, but I think one of the parts I was most engaged with, I think, is in the sort of the middle of the film where it's just the two of them in the apartment and they're just talking and they're going, through different scenarios and they're talking about life and very reminiscent of sort of a, before sunrise trilogy character development, kind of thinking about life. So that part I felt was, I don't know, the part I vibed with the most.
Yeah. So, I enjoyed that scene a lot as well, and I think as much as you have jump cuts, as a stylistic editing technique, one of the defining features of the French New Wave is long takes as well. So I think that was kind of a long take.
Sure. Yeah. That makes
Where,
sense.
yeah, you think of realism and it tends to parallel with long takes. When you do long takes, it kind of gives you a more realistic feel on a film, and I think it was perfect, and it works with more intimate settings, right? Like it's just them on a scene and it feels like you're kind of hanging out with them, or you're part of this, and they're just kind of killing time in a way, lounging around. So that's definitely, I noted that scene as well and really enjoyed that. And I would actually, we'll get into it a little bit more, but I think the jump cuts gave me that sense of kind of intimacy as well, since it kind of broke up your perception of time. It was more atmospheric and you just felt like you were part of their world, and this could have spanned multiple days, it could have been weeks. This was just kind of a time lapse potentially of their lives, and so it kind of applied the same effect where I felt like I was just kind of hanging out with them for a weekend or so. But Patrick, what were your favorite stylistic techniques or choices in this film?
Yeah, I felt very dreamy or like a mirage almost, There's
Yeah.
always smoke going in the camera. They're always like, I don't know, there's probably way less time without cigarettes than with cigarettes.
Yeah,
He's
he would
he's
talk
always
about
ripping.
chain smoking. He's like lighting his new cigarette with his old cigarette,
Floppy,
That's a chain.
yeah.
I think that's probably where they get the name chain smoking. It's like literally like a chain. He's
That's probably
yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the jump cuts, kind of confusing time, but blended with longer, more boring things creates like a interesting, very casual atmosphere. They're kind of in states of undress. They're doing things that you don't typically see in movies. Thought those were all like creating a unique environment for a movie. It's kind of cool. Like there's cool cars. It's a city, kind of bustling, but also not bustling. Like it's like a interesting contrast.
Cool. Yeah, and so I know I mentioned plot, and Quinn was quick to say that he disliked the plot, but I meant in the sense that it's not your typical story. I mean, it's not even really an anti-hero because he's not that likable. Like it's a cop killer with no purpose, no real values, kind of just a nihilist that's just floating around and others lose. But that was also a rebellion against maybe a more normative narrative that Hollywood was pushing out. So what did you think of that plot?
I can go.
Sorry, I don't know if you cut out for me, Grant, just a little bit. But yeah, talking about the plot of he's an unlikable guy.
Yeah, um, it's not just a kind of normal arc storyline. It's kind of you're following a pretty unlikable cop killer with nihilist values that treats Patricia and all women like dogs and is not. I mean, he's kind of cool in scenes, but he's kind of just sad. And I think you can see that he's just kind of a sad dude. And so that's not your traditional kind of story that's being
right.
shown in film. So what did you think of that, Pat?
So I was like, yeah, very casual, kind of you're just on a dreamy ride with them. But like but I kind of felt like stuck, I'm with Michelle, who's just like a downright scumbag. And I'm like, I don't want to spend any more time with this guy. Like, all he's trying to do is just bang this girl. He doesn't care about anything else. That's, I don't know. It was, it was like not it was like trying to be immersive, but then it was just like repelling me with this foul creature.
Yeah. Did you think he, as unlikable as he was, did either of you find humor in this film? I found myself laughing a lot about the things he would say and kind of the sarcasm and back and forth. Like he was pretty ridiculous in the shit he would say.
I was like surprised. I don't know if I was laughing though, but I was definitely like, surprised. It's like nothing I hate more than like a woman driver. Just like I don't know. It was just weird.
I was laughing.
I don't know if I was laughing. I mean, there were some funny lines, and you're right that I think one of the first lines in the film is he just says, he's an asshole or something. So I thought that was pretty telling in where his character was going or not going. So I don't think he said anything too unexpected. And I don't know if does he change that much. He kind of just lives his way of life, and she lives her way of life, and it's not compatible in the end, and kind of comes to a tragic, sad end.
Yeah, I felt like she was never even really in it. Like, I felt like from the start she was like, like I don't know if I guess she's pregnant with his kid, I think, but it never felt like they ever had like a honeymoon, falling in love, like adoration, because he's just kind of shady, and I think everyone knows he's kind of shady. Like he's not he's not as sneaky as he might think he is.
He just broke into her apartment and just wouldn't leave though. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, I did. Yeah. And she's like, And she just, but I think that's also like it's similar to the plot, because they did spend like 5 nights together or whatever when they first met. And that could have been like the fun, adventurous, they're going in the city, going out to, whatever entertainment happens in 1960. The more classical, like courting and romance. But instead of showing that, they just showed like the ugly side of like overstaying your welcome. Much like they're doing with the rest of the plot.
I think I tend to probably agree more with Grant in that it was like ambivalence. It's undecided, which kind of jumping ahead of here a little bit, but I think it's pretty relevant. One of my favorite quotes from the film that I think ties with what we're talking about now is the point where Michelle says something along the lines of like women can't decide on something in 8 seconds when they'll do it gladly in 8 days or something. And that was sort of what happened in the film. So I think they were ambivalent, undecided in the beginning, and then in the end, it was pretty clear what was going on.
Yeah, you're like plot wise, you're saying the plot became more linear towards the end. Is that what you're saying?
Well, their relationship. So she couldn't really decide on him, and then it was clear by the end. She goes, "Oh, I'm not into you.
Oh, yeah,
It's over. It's
yeah. Yeah, one thing I have noted down in this section before we dive into other quotes was for the jump cutting. I think that the first time I noticed like how kind of extreme it was when they were driving and he kept on saying like what he liked in a woman. I think he was like, pretty legs, pretty eyes, pretty this, pretty that, pretty. He like said pretty like 5 times, and every single time they did a jump cut to her next to him in the car, I felt like that was not just to kind of disorient the viewer, but also it did a good job at just making like her tuning him out almost. Like he's just talking and he's just saying this shit, and she just like, okay, like cut, jump, cut, jump, cut. Like who knows how much time has passed while he's still just fucking going on. But I thought that was a good kind of, that's my interpretation on the jump cuts there. I do know, as you mentioned earlier, Quinn, like, and there are film critiques, film critics out there that call out,
like us.
that call out, Godard only did this to get, because he had to cut the time and he thinks it's stylistic and cool, but really it's just pointless jump cuts. That's like a critique on the film. I know he did have like a 2 hour or 2.5 hour film and he had to cut it down to an hour, but I still think it'd be hard to argue that he didn't use that opportunity to cut to make stylistic choices with those jump cuts. So that being said, let's move into some quotes. So I'll start with you, Patrick, since Quinn shared one. This section is called "You Think, Therefore You Are." A little existentialism. Some. It's not Sartre, is it?
What'd you call me?
But there is a lot of philosophical quotes in here. I thought the dialogue was very entertaining. I thought it was funny, and I thought much like Before Sunrise, there is a lot. I kind of realized how much doesn't change in the world, and how much actions and how much we're talking about the same stuff. Like I had a quote of like, can one even believe in love in this time? In the bustling of the city, like, does love really exist? And this is in 1960, right? Like that question, has it ever not been asked? Like, I think, and that's timeless. And there's a bunch of other quotes. I feel like this film's actually pretty chock full of quotes that I only caught a few, but that pulled me out and made me think twice. So that's what this section is. If you can put up the header, and then we'll pass it over to Patrick to share his favorite quote that made him think twice.
My favorite quote that made me think twice was actually not from Michelle, but it's from the assignment that Patricia went on when she was interviewing the film guy. We're doing a press release or whatever, and she asked him, what's your greatest ambition? And he quickly said, to become immortal and then die. I was like, that's a interesting way of putting that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that guy he was full of quotes. Mm-hmm. He said, if you see a pretty girl with a rich man, she's nice and he's a bastard. He is
also a good one.
Yeah.
They asked the ethical question too, which do you guys agree with? What's more ethical, the woman who cheats or the man who walks out?
I missed that one, but that's a good quote too.
It's a tough one.
And then they respond with, yeah, the woman who cheats
Is more ethical.
is more ethical. Yeah.
I feel like they're equal. I feel like cheating.
Well, there could be something to. I don't know.
I don't know. Cheating's pretty
Man,
bad.
woman
Betrayal.
comparison where like. I think it relates more to, I don't know, you're a man, you need to support your family, your kind of like your duty. But then
Yeah.
it kind of degrades the woman perspective, like, she was gonna cheat anyways or whatever.
Well, another one that didn't make me think twice, but a quote that I loved was in the beginning. He said, "Live dangerously to the end." It was like the opening of the film, just really got you in. Just good stuff.
As it's weird driving. It's like you can just kind of do whatever you want. And it was the camera perspective was so weird too. It's like I was driving, because it was like right over
first
the wheel,
person.
and it was like very bumpy, and like you catch all the turns, and it was weird, immersive, dreamy, but hostage with the bastard Michelle.
Yeah. I think my last quote too, was Patricia, she said, "Sleeping so sad. You say together, but it's separate." And it just got me thinking. I think what she was saying was that you can't really sleep together. You can't dream together. Like we all go asleep alone in a way. Like you can fall asleep together, but you sleep alone.
Well, you're never truly, yeah.
You know? And I thought that was
Never truly together.
It's like yeah, it's just interesting. It's like you can spend the whole day together and you feel together, and then you separate when you go to bed, when you fall asleep. It's just interesting. I never really thought of it. I thought that was cool.
Just women being clingy.
Exactly. Let me see.
I think I've thought of that too, though. The whole being together. Not saying that I took this original thought, but you're never. I mean, you still have to think about what you're doing in life. Like even, I mean, get married and everything, but still, you're at the end of the day, it's you. You can't assimilate with another person. It's,
Not yet.
Kind of sad, but not yet. Not until we get Neuralink up.
Is it sad though? Don't you want some privacy in this world? Do you always need to be connected?
Some independence.
I think it's especially like it's your reset. It's okay to be reset alone.
Yeah.
If it was like a endeavor that's exciting and enriching, then yeah, it'd be a little sad. But it's like you're just closing your eyes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You know,
I don't think sleeping separate is sad. I think, yeah, I agree with you there.
I'm back.
It's kind of grounding, you know?
Oh, no, it's not working.
Yeah. Well, let me share report card. You guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
How am I doing? Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
We can hear you. We can see you, but maybe not at the same time. Yeah, a little wonky.
Gotcha. Right. We're doing our best here, guys.
Yeah, we're doing our best. So we're going to do a report card quickly. So maybe I'll start Quinn with plot because I feel like he's already expressed how he feels here. So out of 4 stars, how do you feel about plot?
I don't think there's anything. I mean, if you look at the plot on paper, it's not very. I don't think it's very good.
What about if you look on the movie screen?
On the
How is
movie
it there?
screen, it might be a little better, because there we just like in Jaws we talked about on paper, it's not that great, but they were able to turn it into such a fascinating, captivating story. So for plot, but I still didn't like it. So I'm gonna give it a 1.5.
That's more than I thought. Wow.
Patrick?
I'm gonna give it a 1.
1. Oh, you guys really didn't like the plot there.
Mm-mm.
I'll give it 2. I didn't hate the plot. Characters. Patrick? And this is not necessarily ethical, the likability. It's how they're formed.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Honestly, if invoking a strong emotion of dislike, I'd say that's an indication of a good character.
through just being like repeatedly asking for sex, though. I feel like that's like,
Whoa. You
I mean,
think
that's not.
Michelle was that shallow?
yeah, it's
He
probably
had no
more shallow
depth
than
to
I
him?
thought. Yeah. I feel
mean,
like
I
it's
agree,
almost
wasn't-
like, I don't
I don't
know.
know if it was entertaining, but it may have been nuanced.
You think he was more nuanced than that?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't only ask for that. Like, they had conversations. He was.
I think there's the clash gets you thinking. I mean, maybe if it was just about him, but he's juxtaposed with an opposite,
I'll give it a
which
2.
lets you see both. Okay.
2. Quinn.
Yeah.
My whole brain's lagging too.
I just felt like it was lazy though. Like I don't know.
I'm gonna go 2.5. I'll go 3 actually. I'll go 3. Oh, you're about to click on yourself.
Yeah, because I was thinking I'm going to go 3 too. I think it was good, like unlikable for sure. But I think he's like an archetype. He's
He is a character.
a character for sure. I thought that it was like dark humor. Like it was. I thought his like he was so shitty. It was amusing. Like it's ridiculous. Like what comes out of
He's
his
not
mouth.
stupid.
Like he's kind of stupid in what he
Yeah, I
said.
thought he was pretty stupid.
I feel like he is stupid.
He's kind of blunt and to the point and rude, but I don't think that makes him dumb.
I felt like one of the points though was that he kind of was dumb. Like he was trying to be cool, but really he never thought ahead. I don't think he like meant to kill the cop. I think he was living pretty chill and then he killed this cop and then he didn't. Then I think he was kind of eternally just like freaking out and then just trying to play it cool. But like he never planned anything, really.
I thought he was kind of more resigned to a life of crime. He's doing like bad like deals and stealing cars and has like a mysterious background. I don't know if he was like just living a normal life. But
Yeah.
it's up to interpretation.
He's a youthful, dangerous criminal. That's all we know about him.
Who likes to have sex?
And then cinematography last. Quinn, you want to take it?
Sure, I'll go first. I disliked this a lot. I don't know. Well, I take that back because I just said I liked half of it. I liked the long takes, the intimate moments. but then you put that up with weird, disjointed transitions and just very jarring jump cuts. So let's go with another 1.5.
Wow. See that also, I mean, okay. Feel like they're intentional choices that I guess you didn't agree
They're
with.
intentional, and I think they're probably both, if we're breaking Hollywood stereotypes or something, or whatever was in place at the time, probably both of those maybe weren't common, but one like resonated more with me as like an improvement. I go, wow, this is fresh, this is exciting, versus change just to change.
What was exciting?
The longer takes
Mm,
of the more like the more
yeah.
intimate moments. And I think this is also like there's so much to take into that's like different that I really don't want to watch it again, but I think once you get past the plot and you go, all right, I'm just going to focus on the cinematography for this watch, maybe there's more that was there.
What about you, Pat?
I'll give it another 2. I thought it was okay, but I didn't think it was like exceptional, but it wasn't bad. It was fair. It was, I don't know. I felt like I didn't appreciate it that much because it wasn't outside of like the scenes cutting. I felt like it was just kind of like standard. So I'm not sure. Maybe I
Yeah, there's scene cutting. There's he broke the fourth wall early on in the film.
Right.
Really, the techniques were meant to get the audience to remember that they're watching a film. Like it's supposed to take away just being fully immersed and to forget that it's a piece of art. It's cinema and it's a film, and you should be reflecting on it. And that's what the purpose of the French New Wave was to do, is to pull you back, pull the audience back into their seat and realize that, this is a work that they're watching. Instead of just a story they're mindlessly going along with. I think it makes them a more active participant.
I mean, it seems culturally and in industry significant in a change of delivery, but I don't know, not that entertaining as a viewer.
Yeah, and I like the immersion too. If that's like their, because I definitely felt like,
Storytelling.
yeah, that was like happening where I'm like getting taken out of the movie. Like I don't know. It's like,
I don't like this.
and it's like, what am I thinking about? Like this guy's just like, yeah, he's real. Fuck. I don't know. Because it was like you
Really
don't have
doesn't like
a.
Michelle.
I didn't know, and it was like, yeah, there was some good dialogue. I don't know, but cinematography was. Yeah, I was like, I wasn't a fan of the jarring kind ofness.
Yeah, I'll give it 3.5. I really like this film. I haven't seen it in a long time, years, but it's as I remember it. Like, it's very atmospheric and iconic. I think it captures, a rebellious time too. It feels like kind of like a countercultural culture film in general. And yeah, I don't know. I'm a little disappointed that, like it's not, it's not just Michelle being a dirtbag, right? Like that's kind of surface level, right? I feel like following someone, you know, like it's entertaining. Is I at least I think that it was entertaining seeing this dude, like he loses out, right? Like he's not living life to the best. He's treating people like shit. He's living by that, you know, in the moment and robbing people. But it was entertaining.
Or like a bad guy doesn't make a bad story.
Yeah.
He dies in the end too, if that makes you feel better.
He dies in the end, right? And then he
dies so stupidly too.
Yeah, well, the last words he says he's like, he says like it's disgusting, really. And Patricia's like, what did he say? And then the guy's like, oh no, he says makes me want to puke. I guess there's a bunch of different translations.
Yeah.
Makes me want to puke. Patricia says, what did he say? And then he said you make him want to puke. And then Patricia says, what's that mean? Puke? But like, it's just, I mean, he's such a scumbag. It's like he's like an archetype. Like he is a character. Like I don't think this person can exist. Like at least, you know, someone like Patricia, who seems like a normal girl, wouldn't be associated with him. It seems like he's just kind of over the top, very French, rude, masochist. I'm not masochist.
Satanist.
Super.
No. Why is I'm blanking?
Masculine?
No, sexist.
Misogynist.
Misogynist.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when you intentionally carve out, you know, I feel like we got like a pumpkin rind, you know, for pumpkin pie. You know, the intentional choice was to remove the interesting parts of the movie, you know. So it's like it's hard to, and then you're left with like
Wait, what do you mean remove the interesting parts of the movie?
Well, that was like the stylistic choice for the plot, right? They don't show the events that are occurring. Like you don't see like the romance blossom between the two main characters. You see like them being indecisive and not sure what to do. And then the conflict and investigation of the crime. I feel like you don't like, it's not really the focus either. So I feel like you're left with like leftovers kind of.
I feel like it's just two opposites interacting. You know, you have bad, criminal, hypersexual, Parisian, mixed with, I don't know, I think she's going to school at like top university, American girl, focused on career. Just different viewpoints of life, like very literate and does a lot of reading, but I don't know if it's played out the best, in my opinion. But I have no problems with Michelle doing whatever he did. I mean, I think that's definitely necessary for the movie or the story to progress and to be what it is. If you didn't have him like that, I mean, it would be, I think, probably pointless.
Yeah. Here's a quote just that I'll share. Oh, Quinn's in, out. Not to sway your mind, but I think this is a good quote that kind of sums up what the movie is attempting to do. It's a movie about someone wanting movies to be real life, but suffering the consequences. It's a movie about blending neorealism, studio filmmaking, and formalist art experimentation. It's a movie about changing gender dynamics before second wave feminism. It's a movie about fate and freedom, existentialist style. It's a movie about courting and about people who are attracted to each other, talking to each other for long periods of time. It's a movie about cultural imperialism. It's a movie about jazzy rhythms. But most of all, it's an explosion of ideas by a young director who is making up a new way of making films as he went along.
Who says this?
Reddit comment.
Oh, Reddit. Got it. Nice.
No. ChatGPT.
Well, thank you for sharing, Grant.
Yep. So with that, we can do our patented review.
The GPQ patented review where we decide whether the true rating of Breathless, bout de souffle, is over or under the IMDb rating.
That's the one.
That's the one. Okay. All right. I wasn't quite
Lock
sure.
it in.
Oh my, we're locking it in with 89,000 votes. We're sitting at a 7.7.
I'll go over.
I'm gonna have to go under on this one. I get what's going on. I get it. I like it, but I don't love it, and I don't think I'd watch it again. It's, you know what it did? It actually made me appreciate the whole time I was watching it. I was like, you know what I want to kind of go back to? Like, had an itch. I felt like Grant. I was like, I want to watch La Jante again. I was like, this is making me appreciate that film more. And I don't even think they're in the same wave or whatever, but I was just thinking older and French, and some of the choices that were made, kind of different, unique choices made.
Yeah. That was like minimalism. Bresson, right? Well, Quinn is out all the time.
Yeah, it was like the exact opposite, where you have that was like trying not to be a movie. That was like trying to be a play. I felt like, with like a stage, and everything was careful, and this was casual.
They both were low budget and used like friends and common people instead of actors.
No, I think the main dude is like one of the most. I mentioned it to my French friend Hugo. And he said that guy's like the Paul Newman. Like he's like
Well,
super famous.
That was his film. That was his first film.
The Jean-Paul Belmondo.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Well, now he's very famous.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I thought I read that.
Well, he's dead, actually.
It looks like he had a couple, but
I think that was his
also
breakout film.
Yeah. I'm going to go under. So, well, 7.7 is pretty high. And, you know, maybe my too used to these modern English movies to appreciate the art by, it was, you know, I could see the counterculture. It was very bold, different, but I'm just not sure it landed for me. So going under.
Yeah. I'm disappointed. One of the best films. It's just known as, you know, you think. I know everyone's got their own
I think
taste,
it's very
but
cultural. I mean, from what I read, it was very culturally significant, but as far as like disruption, but I don't know if it really stands on its own.
I feel like it
What do I
did
know
for me.
compared to the best directors of all time? That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll be the same. Maybe I'll go back. I'll let it seep. I'll be like, you know what? I was thinking about that.
Yeah, I think this one's tied for
Maybe
15th.
I gotta stop calling it Breathless. A bout de
Bout de souffle. Yeah, this one's I think tied. There's a bunch of ones for that 15 slot, but Sight and Sound does a poll, And yeah, so it's the directors. I think there's 500 directors that take place and voted on the best films ever. And this is
Can you send it?
14th. Yeah.
Thank you. Man, you can't have if you're 500 people and it's a tie. Like that's a little sketchy.
There's a bunch.
Exactly.
Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that are tied for 14th. But like a lot of these are, if you take a film class, you'll like Seven Samurais on here. I know we've seen that. Pather Panchali, which is the story about Apu, the Apu trilogy. That's very famous as well. Goodfellas is on here. I feel like it's the kind of pillars. So, it could just be the French film. I almost thought, like it was funny because it's absurd. It's like absurdist how he is, right? Like it's not realistic. And just the vibe of the film, I find it appealing, and entertaining. But everyone's got their own taste. That's well. With that, yeah, you're in and out.
I know, man. I apologize. I don't know what's going on. I blame it all on the technical overlords that control us. I can't leave too because if I leave, it ends the stream. I got big shoes. So
All right. Well, with that, I'll pass it over to Quinn for our next choice.
all right. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Hopefully you guys can see me. I'm running it down. What we're doing next time now. A couple things to note. One.
Can you hear him at all?
Couple things to note, and
They cut off. I can't hear what you're saying.
On, so.
No.
caught the
Wait.
tail end there.
Oh. What about now? Are
we
we
can
back?
hear you now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Your
back.
mic can only handle like 20 words.
Wow, who knows? That is true. We're gonna see how this comes out in YouTube. Oh my! I can't wait to write a nasty ass email. Did it go
Who's
out
it
yet?
addressed
I don't
to?
know. Anyways,
The duck.
our
The
technical
StreamYard duck.
overlords. All right, so in case technical difficulties happen, I'm going with a movie that's basically the opposite. It's been pretty rough. All these technical issues. Grant's making me think watching these hoity-toity old films and hurting my brain in French, and I need to do something different. So I was just Googling. I saw some things. This came up. I don't even remember hearing about this film, but it seemed interesting and fun. And it's got Brad Pitt. It is the one and only Bullet Train, 2022. Bullet Train. That's
Bullet
if I cut
Train.
out Bullet Train.
2022.
1
We
month.
heard you. Bullet Train.
Yes. So Grant, why don't you explain it and then send us off, and I can stop talking now.
Ladybug is an unlucky assassin who's determined to do his job peacefully after one too many gigs have gone off the rails. Fate, however, may have other plans as his latest mission puts him on a collision course with lethal adversaries from around the globe, all with connected yet conflicting objectives on the world's fastest train. Huh.
Bad Bunny's in the movie.
Very interesting.
This is
It's,
the complete
So
opposite.
you're not going to think it is comedy, action, whatever. Who knows? Could be a flop. You guys even heard of this
It's
film?
Mm-mm.
No, action comedy film.
Grant looks thrilled.
Let's go. Bullet Train. It's gonna be in a little bit of a hiatus, because I will be going. Speaking of France, I will be going to France. In the meantime, so we will reconvene in about a month's time with Bullet Train. So thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed our discussion and talk of Abu du Souffle. and we will see you guys next time. In the meantime, you can follow us on our Instagram, Quarter Life Critics, all one word. Thank you for listening, and peace.
Peace.
Peace.